Struggle number two is when you're not clear about your goals. Some of the symptoms are you don't know where to start. You have so many ideas, but you just don't know where you start. And sometimes you don't do anything because of that. Or you're working on multiple behaviors simultaneously. That can really cause frustration and not clear and wishy-washy about your goals because you have so many things going on at the same time. And we're going to talk about the solutions, so stay tuned. If you're not clear about your goals, you can cause a lot of frustration, not only in yourself, but also in your horse. And that's not what we want because frustration is the opposite of getting in learning mode. So too much frustration just doesn't really help the learning process. You're not clear about your goals and therefore training feels like a struggle. Maybe you even just hesitate to go to the barn. Well, you love your horse and do you would love to go to your horse, but there's something that you keep postponing and procrastinating about going there because basically you don't know what to do when you're there. You don't know where to start. Maybe you have a little bit of everything, frustration. In short, training feels like a struggle. That's one of the symptoms. Or some people tell me, I just never feel successful. So stay tuned. We do all the solutions in this video. So if you not know where to start in clicker training, I would suggest pick a destination, pick a goal, because once you know what you want to train, and it can be very, very simple, and you will get more ideas just in a minute about training behaviors, but pick a goal because once you have a goal, then you can start dividing your goal behavior into baby steps, and then you create a shaping plan. So if you don't know where to start, just focus on one thing at a time, divide it into smaller steps so that you have a shaping plan. So by the time you go to your horse, you just look at your shaping plan and it will give you many, many ideas of where to start. So for instance, when I wanted to teach Kira the Spanish walk, I started with simple targeting because once she knew how to target, I could easily teach her to target other body parts like her knee, and that was made it simple to train it from the ground, first at liberty, then in the long rein, and then I could transfer it easily under saddle. So just having that destination, for instance, you want to teach your horse a Spanish walk under saddle, divide it into smaller steps so you know exactly what to do, when to do it. If you are working on multiple behaviors simultaneously, another solution is create clarity. Just sit down, create a vision board, put everything on there that you want to train your horse one day, soon, or maybe in the future. And it really gives you clarity about what it is that you actually want. The other solution, if you're training multiple behaviors simultaneously and it gets confusing, think about how you could stack the behaviors. If you train certain behaviors first, for instance, with the Spanish walk, it's easier if your horse already knows how to target and then teach your horse to target with other body parts instead of starting with Spanish walk and then figuring out that you get stuck. So if you're working on multiple behaviors simultaneously and it creates confusion for you, then I would suggest start with these 6 behaviors. If you have table manners, in table manners, all these 6 foundational behaviors you can teach within 5 to 15 minutes, the basics. So in table manners, you teach your horse safe behavior around food and treats in training. You also teach your horse what a click means, and you also teach your horse an end of session signal. So in table manners, your horse already learns so much about clicker training. The boundaries are set, the expectations are clear. That helps you to teach your horse patience. Patience is when I teach my horse to stand still and relax. And this is a perfect default behavior that is a very safe behavior. So whenever your horse gets frustrated, doesn't know what to do in order to get a click and a treat, because maybe you're raising your criteria too quickly, or you're making the steps too big and your horse gets frustrated and he loses track of what it is you want, they will always fall back on the default behavior, and then they offer patience. So then you know that your horse doesn't understand it, what it is that you want to train. Targeting, I already said a little bit about that earlier. Targeting is teaching your horse to touch an object with a specific body part. So we always start with nose targeting, but the next one is targeting with their feet, and that's how you can teach your horse to step onto a mat, and that has super many purposes in training as well. Backing and head lowering are behaviors that can help with safety, and they're easy to learn, and head lowering can also help in relaxation, the same with patience. So if you're working on many behaviors at the same time and you get confused, then start with these 6 behaviors, and then you can prioritize what is the next behavior that you really need to train in order to do whatever you are planning to do, or that increases your safety. And then you go to priority 2 and to priority number 3, and then you make a plan. So writing things down is a big trainer's hack, because once you write things down, you created clarity in your own head. For instance, priority number 1 for me was, I thought it was to teach Kira to be haltered. But Kira was my formerly wild horse, and she didn't know people and she was afraid all the time. So whenever she saw me coming with a halter, she was very scared. So approaching her had priority number 1, because that was basically the bottleneck for everything else we wanted to do. I wanted to make her a riding horse, but in order to do that, I had to move her to another facility, because by that time I was also pregnant and I couldn't do self-board anymore. So priority number 2 was at that time trailer loading. And when I got all that done, then years later, that was the end goal, to turn Kira into a riding horse. So when you are working on multiple behaviors simultaneously, create some clarity about what your priorities actually are, and if you can stack those behaviors, because without approaching her, I could never have loaded her into a truck, and I could never started riding her. So when you think about and approach it from that point of view, it's, yeah, you get more clarity about what it is that you need to do first. And sometimes a little help from a friend can go a long way. So when you are struggling with frustration in training, that's usually due to a lack of clarity. So when you have a training plan, you know exactly what to do. And when you then divide your goals into a shaping plan, you have your criteria clear, you know what to do, when to do it, but also what you will get. So you will get predictable results. When training feels like a struggle, a lot of people struggle with this. They think it's hard to clicker train your horse. They think it takes a long time to teach with positive reinforcement. Um, but that's not entirely true. It's just like you are learning a new skill and you have to be patient with yourself and also set yourself up for success. So when training feels like a struggle, you can, for instance, start with tracking your training. Because when you track your training and you have a training journal, you can discover maybe there's a pattern why your training feels like a struggle. I discovered that my training felt like a struggle way back when because I didn't know how to put behaviors on cue. So my horse knew 20 behaviors, but he never knew what the right answer was. So he went through all those behaviors. Do you want this? No. Do you want that? No. Do you want that? So that created a highly frustrated horse and also frustration in me. But I couldn't see how frustrated my horse was at the time because he lacked clarity. But when I was um, having a training journal and having a coach, I realized I was just missing a puzzle piece. And that piece for me at that time was I didn't know how to put behavior on a solid cue. So by tracking your training, if you work alone, it will help you to see patterns. So is there a pattern? Do you like not know how to put behaviors on cue, or when do your struggles start? The other solution is evaluate. Video your training sessions, get help, but also evaluate what did you do a few weeks ago or a few months ago, because that will also help you realize and also help you discover the patterns that do you well and that serve you. Because once you know, like, oh, you know what? A few months ago, I couldn't even approach my horse, and now he eats from my hand, or I can halter him. So we tend to focus on the things that don't go well. But when you start to focus a little bit more on the things that do go well, then it feels less like a struggle. Also, like what I said before, once you can discover the patterns, then you can also discover the holes in your training. When Sometimes when training feels like a struggle, it's because you feel that you're the odd one, that you're the only one clicker training your horse. You're always tiptoeing around other people's schedules, maybe at the barn, because you know what they think about you, because they've told you that you're spoiling your horse with treats and that you get never anything done if you do it like that, and that your horse needs to have a leader or whatever they're saying. And then that can really that can really feel like a burden on you if you have to tiptoe around other people's schedule. And then I would suggest find a tribe with like-minded horsewomen. If you never feel successful, another solution is only compare yourself with yourself. What we often fall into the pitfall is that we compare our chapter 3 with somebody else's chapter 25, and then we don't feel successful. But we don't know what that other person already has done or how many hours they put in their own education or in the education and training of their horse. So only compare yourself with yourself. If you never feel successful, really start focusing on your progress. Again, when you have some training videos of yourself, go sit and watch your own training video. Take pen and paper and write down your progress. Focus on that, because that will really help, and will also give you way more confidence in about what you've already accomplished with clicker training. Because you know what? is more than you think. I see it all the times with clients, they feel not successful. And then when I remind them how far they've come in the past 3 months or 6 months working with me, then they realize that yes, they are successful, but they're just putting the goals just out out of their own reach. So celebrating your successes is one of the things that helps you anchor those success moments and your accomplishments. So focusing on your progress, celebrating your successes is a really good way to do that. Also, ask outside eyes. Ask your coach. Ask somebody else. What do you think are my accomplishments? Do you see that I make progress? Because it could be if you're not making progress or not making enough progress or could make more progress that you need some help. But often it's also we are very, very critical towards ourselves. So when you ask outside eyes and somebody reminds you, look, when you bought your horse was like this and he didn't know anything, or he was maybe aggressive or shut down and now he is like this. That can really help put things in perspective. So if you want to learn more and you want to do more with clicker training, I would say join the HippoLogic Academy. Train your dream behaviors under my professional guidance. Learn about horse behavior and equine language so you can bond with your horse based on mutual understanding, trust, and love. Members in the Academy get access to online courses full of step-by-step videos. They get handholding. I guide you through all the steps that you need to go through. We are in a group, so we are with like-minded people. You get coaching on your own training videos each week, and once a week we have a live Zoom coaching calls in which we discuss our training, our struggles, and I bring you solutions. So if you want to learn more, go to clickertraining.ca and subscribe to my YouTube to get more of these videos.